music. You will be inspired to think higher in life. Your gift. Join the Muses and Michelle and Gina. Turn this up and through your speakers. It's the music of music.
We are the Muses behind the music, and welcome to the show today. Thank you all so very much for being here. So listen, I want to be able to interact with you, and so does the guest. And anytime that we have the Muses behind the music show, we want to be able to talk. So please give StreamYard your permission to be able to, access whatever they do if you're watching via Facebook. All of my YouTube followers, subscribers, and those who are watching, go on, if you have not already, like and subscribe to the channel so that you can be up to date on when we are getting ready to do our broadcast. And feel free, make your comments in the comment box. I have a very, very special guest today, who is an acclaimed international jazz vocalist. First and foremost, I got to say that she is a member of the best Divine Nine, which would be Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Hello, over there. And so not only as a member, but also as a singer and an educator and a songwriter, and has her own nonprofit organization called TMBTM. She's going to talk a little bit about that today as well. This sister, Lori Williams, has been, just a transforming force in the jazz world. Jazz music has, taken such a turn where I don't think that America is really appreciating it. And I certainly know that we're not really having as much appreciation for our cultural music inside the Black community like we did in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. And now in Europe, it is a big thing. And unfortunately, we have to have our jazz musicians go across the seas to make such a career and a stance, and then come back over here to get the recognition that they already deserve. So I want to make sure that we are supporting this music that is the foundation of the Black community, the African American community, in such a rich and vital art form. And what Lori is doing to transform this stage. She was working with me as an educator in DC public schools. And then one day she says, I'm up and out of here. And before you knew it, the up and out of here was just, like lighting a fire. The spark hit and she was going, and just has had an annual international tour. She's been to Austria and Germany and Slovakia and Russia and all over the United States. She is a private vocal coach. She's won a plethora of awards, including the 2007 Superintendent's Arts Teacher of the Year Award. She's performed, listen, the list of people she's performed with, I really can't sit here and name everybody, but I have to name a few people. Eric Benet, the Blackbirds, Yolanda Adams, Peeble Bryson, Chuck Brown, get that go down. Jerry Butler, Jonathan Butler, Terry Lynn Carrington, Will Downing, Savion Glover, Chelsea Green, Walter Hawkins, Alan Johnson, Benny King. So we have an array of musicians and an array of genres that she's been featured in, from gospel to jazz to the blues to pop. You name it, she has been present. Julia Nixon, Phil Perry. Come on, you all. As well as being a mom and having a brand new single that came out. It was recently released, called Too Late, It's My Time. And before she comes on, what I really want to do, I want you all to just check out a little bit of this. If you haven't had the opportunity already, please make sure that you go onto YouTube and you check out Lori Williams, Too Late, It's My Time. This is the official music video, but I'm going to share just a little bit with you. Check it out.
Hey, oh babe, I realize I'm enough for me now. I turn the corner, no apologies and no hesitation to my destination. Reset my life, hey, it's my time. I've forgiven you for my holiday. No more sad songs, I can see the day break. Morning meditation, thoughtful relaxation. Trust the healing, learn to love again, love again. Babe, I know you've done it before. It's always easy, leave and close the door. I'm taking back my power within. Reset my life, hey, it's my time. It's too late, gotta love myself, babe. Say it's too late, trust the voice inside. I already know the strength that I hold. Reset my life, hey, it's my time.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome sister friend Lori Williams?
Thank you. I'm glad you ended on my baby Lauren. That was sweet. That was perfect timing. Perfect.
Great timing.
Yay.
Hey,
Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm blessed.
Good.
And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be called. I'm grateful to be here. Every opportunity is like, thank you, Lord.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I love the video.
Thank you.
And I want to know where the whole vision came.
You know, I was thinking about what's the best way to say this in an authentic way, and that's my word. I might be saying a bunch of times is authenticity.
Yes.
We all go through things in life, and I wanted us to really affirm that it was our time. You know, that especially with the pandemic, you know, whatever we're going through in life, yes, you can make it. And when I'm saying too late, it's not like it's too late to do something. It's just like it's too late for that, later for that. It's my time. Now is the time for us to move forward. And I also wanted to have that vision of sisters supporting sisters.
Yeah.
And, you know, thank you for mentioning our beautiful sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, because we've actually had that experience of what it's like to have true sisterhood.
Absolutely.
But when you're talking about reaching across genres or reaching across cultures, that's when it kind of, there's a breakdown in that concept. And this video shows people from all walks, all backgrounds, and they all have stories to tell. And that concept of it's my time means something different to each one of them. And I'm so grateful to know a little bit about their stories and why it's so important.
Yeah. You know, I tell you, I have seen a transformation with us as Black women. In maybe the last 10 years with the appreciation of getting back to certain hairstyles, right? But I'm still waiting for the appreciation of one another. And I'm feeling like we're going into that. That's why this video, as soon as I started seeing it, I was like, all right, I see familiar faces and unfamiliar faces, but I love the representation of, my thought was the support. That's what I immediately got from it when I first saw it. And I think that that's so vital. Like, we need to be able to pull the strength from one another, to be able to lean, to be able to rely, and to call on one another. And you're right, we all have stories, walks of life. I love your story so much. I love when we used to work together in DC public schools. And one day you just decided, or I'm assuming one day you just.
Girl, 25 years I gave to our wonderful DC public schools. And I walked in, I'll tell you the story. I walked into the classroom and it was a general music classroom. And these are students who, for the most part, do not really care, or I'm going to say it, didn't really appreciate. I had just come from a tour. I was on a high. I had my lesson plan on the board. I was ready to just give something a pour because I'd been in Europe and I want to give. And these kids were there. And, these were beautiful children, but they were on their phones and they were having conversations about which beach or where they were headed to that weekend. And I said, okay, guys, let's circle up. It's time for class. And I was part of the chalkboard, or I was the desk. I had never had a sense of no control, but there was no connection, no connectivity. And I blame systematic changes that when it took away from our power to impact, and when we could not really be motherly or nurturing in that classroom, and we couldn't give our opinions. And so I blame a lot of changes. And I decided, well, that's when PMPM became about, because I needed to do it for myself. So that day I went to the office and I said, I need to take a moment, and I signed out, and then I quit.
Yeah. That's so real. I laugh because
it was real.
So it's not a funny situation.
It is now, but it was the way it happened. I was in tears that day.
Yeah.
Because I felt defeated. I'm like, hold up now. I know what I have to offer is important. I know what we bring to the table is valuable. And I know music has the power to do so much, but they were not willing to see it for those little 10, it was 10 kids.
Yeah.
And those 10 students opened my eyes to let me know that you are not able to reach everyone, but the ones that you are able to reach, they will receive you. So that's why Positive Music for Positive Minds came about. I can reach those kids in Europe. I can reach the kids online in Georgia when I'm traveling and I'm doing my workshops. I have a different appreciation, and they have a different appreciation for me too.
So tell us a little bit about the organization. Like, okay, so it birthed itself out of this, basically a frustration with the current academic system that we have in this world.
That was part of it, but I have a big issue with lyrics, and in part of my lesson plans, I would talk to the students about the popular songs that were out, and I would hear them because they'd come in and they'd play their music, and I'm like, okay, let me just be the objective listener and just hear what it, but defaming and calling out of it. And I just was like, hold up, I feel like I'm getting old. And I said, well, you got to explain to me what it is about this music that is really having a positive impact in your life. How is it feeding your energy and your soul and your spirit? How is this making you a better person for your community? How is it causing you to do something that's going to be for the good? And when they couldn't give me that answer, they just liked the beat. I'm like, well, let's flip that and let's make these beats mean something. Put some positive lyrics there. Let's change it. How can we change how that person referred to the woman out of her name? Or how can we, change the image of that society where you're coming from, the hood. I grew up in Southeast, and I know it was about a community, and you can call it all you want to hood, but it was a communal come together where we had gardens and we would look out for each other as neighbors. And you needed a bottle of milk or a cup of sugar. Yes, I can go next door and ask M. Rogers for help. It was that, but we've lost that.
Yes.
We've lost all of that. So Positive Music for Positive Minds was birthed out of my frustration with a lot of things. And I needed to put it to the test. And I went to the Wolf Trap Foundation. They funded it the first year.
Love it.
And then from there, I said, I think I can do this on my own. And I've been doing it, thank God, since I started.
Wow. So you're obviously 501c3 with this, and you have a board and all of that. How is it that people can, become a part of, PMPM? What do they need to do? How about young people?
Oh, well, we had, before the pandemic hit, we were doing workshops and summer workshops.
Okay.
And so now that I've moved down to Georgia, it's been about me I've done presentations on the Capitol Jazz Cruise. I've done presentations when I travel overseas and I have my small group. So it's been a little different. So now I've got to reach the masses with just networking.
Yeah.
And it's just getting adjusted to a new environment down here. That's all.
So what do you have? Do you have like a group of singers?
It's more than singing. This particular organization. I bring in docents. It would be someone like you coming in and working with students about singing or directing or songwriting. And I have people like dancers who come in and do choreography, and and it's all to the end goal of doing a show that the students run themselves.
Yes.
And then at the end, we have a Q&A with panels of artists who come in and discuss how their particular art form impacts and what they want to do to give back. And the students challenge them and ask them how they can and question some of their material.
I love that. I love it so much. I'm a lyricist myself, right? I'm big on that too. And Lord knows I've had the funny conversations with the kids at school about what they're listening to and the same thing. And I'm also one who tries to educate these young people on being an artist. I believe that we all have this responsibility to give back into our community.
Absolutely.
Somehow, some way. And this particular program that you're doing, that's exactly the heartbeat of what we need to be able to do, to be able to.
It doesn't take the place of our art program or, writing programs. It's a supplemental program. And so it can be after school. It could be in churches. It's a way in which, and of course, my private teaching goes into this as well. So I do my private voice as well.
Yeah. Are you just specifically gearing yourself when you do private teaching for jazz vocalists?
Not at all. And interestingly enough, I have students as young as 5 to my seniors. So yeah, I'm teaching, of course, with Positive Music for Positive Minds. I have jazz elements involved there. But when I'm teaching privately, most of my students love pop or, the alternative music. So I'm working with across genres.
Yeah, I love that. That's so important. That's so important because, we have a lot of teachers who are afraid of being able to teach outside of the traditional norms of the classical idiom. And so it's good. Y'all listen. So if you need a teacher, you got one right here. You're doing it online. If that's one thing that the pandemic has given to us, the opportunity to teach on.
I have students in Europe. I have students all across the United States. So I'm really, really grateful for that.
Oh, I love it. How are you balancing? How are you finding the time? Like, Lori, for real, like your schedule is crazy. Yeah. Okay. And I know you can throw it back and say it to me.
Yours too. Right.
Your mom, a mom too. Your mom, and you're a writer and you're a performer. And how do you really find the time to, one, balance all of the responsibilities and then provide for yourself refreshment, renewal?
Well, I take my days. Like, for example, Mondays, I try not to do too much. And then on Fridays, it's either a travel day or a gig day. So Sundays, I'm trying to devote to church and get back into church because I was really involved at a church in the Maryland area. At one point, I was a choir director, but having moved, I'm not as engaged. And so I attend Zion Church Anywhere, which is a beautiful, it's that format where I can be able to be online and get my spiritual nourishment as well. But when it comes to balancing the music, if I'm not working on a Monday, I'm writing or I'm resting. And I think that rest is so important. And on Friday, last Friday, I was helping parents serve my son's marching band after school. So, I try to make sure I find the time to be able to give back and then also perform, because I was just in DC recently at City Winery, and I'm prepping, hoping that this hurricane does not knock it out the box, but Middle C Jazz and then the jazz residency. So I've got to just balance, and I do not have it all together. There are times I have my schedule, my Excel document, my notebook, my calendar. And so you got to just make sure it all works together. And I'm grateful for my daughter who just turned 30. She's very supportive of her little brother who's 15 don't judge me. But so, so I have, I'm starting all over again. So I'm grateful for that support because my parents are gone on. So
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of support, but my daughter's been a big help.
That is just awesome. Wait, is she artistically
Oh,
inclined?
girl, you got to check her out. lavahigh.me, LAVAHI.me. That's lavahigh.me is her website. She's got videos on YouTube, and she performs a lot in the Georgia area.
Love it.
Mhm.
So, Lori, where are you going for the inspiration? Because writing in itself, too, most of the stuff that you are recording, are you doing the writing of your pieces? You have others who are writing for you. Where are you getting the inspiration to do it?
I try to do most of the writing myself as far as lyrical content, because that
Mhm.
way I'm able to really express it. And when you're able to tell a story, whether it's from your perspective or from what you've experienced or from somebody else, if you know those lyrics and live them and can, express them, the audience can really feel the authenticity
Yeah.
and know that it's coming from a place of truth.
Yeah. I am introducing a concept of gospel music to a setting that isn't accustomed to it. And
Mhm.
the one thing that I shared with everybody in this setting is that you have to listen to it. You have to allow it to minister to the soul of who you are. Like, it's the lyrics in itself. It's not something that you can just like jump up and read and just think that you have it. No, there's a lived experience.
Absolutely.
That's
And if they can't live the experience, this is what I tell my students, you've got to have the examples of who lived it. Look at them and analyze their lives, or look at the
yeah,
experiences. How, if you're talking about, a spiritual, then what was that experience, happening? And we can attest because of ancestry, or we can attest because of family, or connectivity. But if they are distant from it, they've got to buy into connecting to our story, just like we buy into connecting with a classical story, or we buy into
absolutely.
connecting with a blues story or a country story. So, it's the same thing.
Absolutely, and absolutely important. So, we all have these stories of where we began. How, how did it start for you?
Girl, I'm gonna say the same story that most people that look like you and me have
I was
said.
4 in church.
Okay, I was 3 or 4 in church, and at Bethlehem Baptist Church in Washington D.C., Southeast D.C.,
Mm,
in the Angelic Voices choir. And I was singing in that choir, and then I progressed to the young adult choir, and my sisters, both Robin and Vanessa, and I think you know Vanessa,
mhm,
Vanessa Williams, they both were
mhm.
choir directors.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I didn't know that though.
yeah, they both were choir directors. And then when I got a little age and, I could be like my sisters, I became a choir director. And so it was, it started with Robin, and then it went to Vanessa, then it went to me. And then we left from that church and went to Fort Foot Baptist Church in Fort Washington, Maryland, where we all directed the choir there too.
Yeah.
So it's my mom and my dad, God rest their souls, Deacon and Deaconess Robert Williams, from the Louisiana area. Lots of music embedded in our families. My mother played piano, and so we got the musical experience early on, and we could hear it. My dad would whistle every day, so you could hear it. Aunties who could sing, Aretha and
Yeah.
Gladys, so
Yeah.
that, yeah,
Those influences, hearing them all the time, playing through the house,
you understand.
cleaning and hearing.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
we were sight reading before we even knew what sight reading was, reading the
Right.
hymn list, and I would sit next to my siblings and hear them sing soprano or alto or tenor or something, and we'd switch, and just that was fun for us
Yeah.
having that experience and reading those lines. Yeah.
Same thing. Same thing in growing up. We had a good time in doing that. Or I don't know, maybe my siblings might not think so, but I thought we had a great time. And
I thought so too, right? So yeah, I mean, there's a 6 and 7 year difference between me and my sister. So
uh,
I think our experiences may have been a little different. However, I think that we all had some similarities in the upbringing. And then when I left there, I went to Oxon Hill, and I was in a group called Malika. And some of the artists who were in this contemporary, it was like Fame, but we You know, I wanted to go to Duke Ellington, but my mother was like, "No, you're going to go to Oxon Hill." And so
Uh-huh.
we had Anthony Wellington, who plays with Victor Wooten. We had Michelle Ngao cello, who was there.
Yeah.
Michelle Johnson. We had Delmarie Hines, who's had connection with Prince. We had a lot of different people. We had Kevin Prince, who's a percussionist. So there were a lot of incredible artists who came through Malika, and I just happened to be one who was blessed with that experience.
Wow.
And then, of course, I went to one of the HUs, which is Hampton University.
Yeah. Well, you remember it was an institute first. Okay.
Yeah, girl. And I was there when it was an institute at first. The last year was an institute, so Hampton Institute.
Wow. Yes.
And I never understood that. I still don't understand the divide, but I get it because I'm not a sports person. But it's all one love, and
It's all one love.
so.
Period.
But I went to Hampton. I had no other choice. But Vanessa went to Howard, and I went to Hampton, and my sister Robin went to Southern. But I loved that campus so much, and my mother said I couldn't major in music. I needed something to fall back on. That was like the.
That's funny. I was going to ask you, if you weren't a musician, what would you have done?
Listen, I was a mass media arts major, and I was influenced heavily by Renee Poussaint from Channel 7. And she was that image of excellence that I saw that looked like me on television. And so I was really influenced by her, and I was a media major, but I went to every class I could to probably get a degree in music while I was there. And I studied with a lot of the jazz studies department, and I studied in the recording engineering department. And I remember freshman year auditioning for the talent show, and that's when the bug really hit for campus. And so I was singing for coronations and events above people already in the program. So I found myself immersed in the program, and I would go to the music department and poke my head in and say, hey, and yeah, I was there. I was in it.
Yeah.
And of course, when I left Hampton, I took courses at Trinity and at the University of the District of Columbia with Alan Johnson.
Yeah.
So I was able to be this teacher. And this was not the career. Teaching was not the career.
I mean, is it ever? I mean, like, for real, it was not what I had ever said, hey, I want to be a teacher.
I didn't either, but my mother was. My mother was an award-winning, masterful teacher. She was the person who taught English and humanities to new teachers in the DC public schools, and they would come to her. And she retired from the role as a teacher, and I was just so impressed with her. And my sister Vanessa taught art in public schools, and my sister Robin taught math in DC public schools.
Wow.
So when I came back from Japan, which is another story altogether, I lived there for 5 years, which is where my daughter was born.
Do you know, I just learned that the other day. I didn't realize that she was born in Japan. That's pretty dope.
I came back, and I needed a gig, and my mother said, you need to check out DC public schools. And she knew some people downtown, and it was very different. And just recently at my gig, Pamela Alexander.
Yes. Pam gave me my job in DC.
Gave me my job in DCPS. And then I got connected with Ben Hall. And next thing I know, and Miss Holt, I found myself doing so many wonderful things that my choir was winning and I was winning. And I'm like, wait a minute, now this thing is taking some legs.
Yeah.
And that's all only God's unexpected blessings, because that was not the path I saw.
Yeah.
You don't always see the vision. I always wanted to sing. That's it.
It's funny. I was in a conversation with my goddaughter today about that whole entire, she has certain things aligned in her head, and she's, on this journey trajectory. And I said, oftentimes I used to find myself in that same space, but when we attune ourselves to the Creator, we have to really get to a place where it's like, okay, God, I need to, where are you trying to take me?
Right.
I know that I've got all of these things lined up,
right,
but I am really trying to be in your will and to walk in that direction. I know I want to sing, I want to play, I want to do this, but what does it look like? And what are the ordained opportunities and the avenues that you're trying to take me to get there, and not by my time? but by your time. Those are all hard things to do. It's a process.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about that word too. So how do you process? What do you share with the next generation, especially of young female artists who are looking at your life and they are saying, I want to be like Lori Williams. She's out here doing this thing. What do I need to do?
Well, the first thing, and I'm really grateful that I have some students like Ari Lennox, and I'm sure you may have worked with Ari too. But back in Ari Lennox is she's making some strides in the R&B, pop, soul, neo soul world, and Nick Hakim. And I was just grateful that they were in my space. And I always say to them that they have to love what they're doing. If you don't love your voice, how do you expect somebody else to love it?
Yep.
So the first thing is really, and I don't like cookie cutter singers. So I like it when someone actually has their originality. Who do you sound like? No, I want you to sound like yourself and find your voice. So that's what I'm all of that mindset. When it's an individuality thing, find your voice. If it's a choral thing, yes, we have to harmonize and blend and all those wonderful buzzwords that we say when we're talking with the choir.
Mm-hmm.
So individually, I want them to be able to say, this is uniquely who I am. This is my gift. This is what I bring to the table. And I was always blessed from teaching from Thompson Elementary School to working through Best Friends Foundation to working at Wilson, which I don't even know the name of the new Wilson. I haven't figured that out yet. They changed their name.
I don't know.
But they were able to see me travel. And I was always blessed to have administrators like Kenny Dickerson, who was an administrator at the time, who was like, okay, no, you got your leave, take it. So I could be able to take my tour. And when technology came where they could be able to Zoom, or it wasn't Zoom, it was actually FaceTime or Google, whatever the thing was, they could see, or I could send pictures back to the school. This is where I am. And I could connect with them, Facebook or, email. And I like them traveling and seeing the world with me. So that was a beautiful thing. And I wanted them to be able to know that it was beyond Northwest DC. The world is huge.
Yeah.
Go to London, go to Austria, go to Louisiana, go to New York, go to California, see the world and experience it and realize that they are not the only ones who are able to do what they do. This world is full of singers.
Yes.
Full of singers who can sing circles around me.
Absolutely right.
But I'm grateful for when the time happens for me to be called, that I'm called. And so I always say there's plenty good room, plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Choose your seat
and sit down.
Sit down somewhere. You know what I mean? So, and find it. And so I had to find my voice. I'm still finding my voice.
Yeah.
They've got to find their voice. And so that's the biggest thing. That was my message from day one. Find your voice. I had it on their choir shirts every year. Find your voice. Find your voice. Because if you don't, I don't want to be, oh, you sound like this person. Yeah, but that person made it on their own.
Yeah.
I need to make it on my own,
Period.
Yeah.
Period. What do you think the influences of this social media world does to these young people who are so tempted at, being the next internet sensation, or, there's just so much crap.
Well, I'm on every form of social media probably there is. I'm on TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I'm on WhatsApp.
We got TikTok.
TikTok. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, blah blah blah, Snapchat. I'm on it all because I know that that's what we have to do. We've got to be able to sell ourselves and sell our product.
Yeah.
But when we start to compare, that's when we get into trouble because I don't have enough hours in the day to put up and be at the level of other people and try to say, oh, I want to be like this particular artist because they have this out and they have so many views. And when you start doing that, you're losing sight of the purpose of the music. Why am I actually putting this music out? Who am I reaching? If it's 2 people in an audience versus if it's 20,000, I still have to sing that song. I still have to reach that person. And it's for whomever will let them come kind of vibe that I have to make sure that they know the same thing.
Yeah.
And we would have when I was teaching, we would have mini concerts in my classroom because I wanted them to know that in that space, if you can't sing it for me and these peers, there's no way you can get out there and share it with the
That's
world.
it. That's
And they had to be able to really sell it. Right at the onset, they had to
Mhm.
sell it, and there were tears and there were, you didn't like what I did. No, did you like it? And mediocrity there's no place in the business for mediocrity because we are all striving for perfection. I have to make it better. I've got to go to the next level. Whatever that next level is, I got to
Yeah.
push. And I don't know it all. I'm still learning. I learn from them and they learn from me.
Yeah, part of the not being mediocre is also in this level of professionalism. I tell people all the time, I have run across some dynamic musicians, and I'm in a position where, I hire on a lot of different people, but you can be dynamic all day
Hmm.
and you can be the most trifling of people when it comes to being on time, responding back to something, not knowing your music. And I promise you, I won't hire you.
But it's interesting because we're women in the business. So as women in the business,
Say it.
I have had to push a little harder. And I think I'm grateful. I'm going to say it. I'm just grateful that I grew up in Southeast DC because
Mhm.
I have a little bit of an edge, and somebody might call her Tori. But Tori definitely comes out when I need her to come out because I need to be able to say what I need to say. And I think I always say words are powerful. Speak wisely.
Yes.
I want to be heard. I want to be seen just like the next person. But respect is important. And if you
Absolutely.
have to respect the time, you have to respect the shedding, you have to respect the energy, you have to respect the position.
Yeah.
And yeah, there we
I
are.
just get so tired of apologizing.
Oh, we don't apologize. No, we don't have to
You know what I'm
apologize.
saying? Because men don't have to apologize. Sorry, y'all. That's just the reality of it. If men come and they say something, people perceive that as, oh, okay, this is a strong man. They know what they're doing. Women, when we come with the same level of assertiveness, not aggressiveness,
Right.
assertiveness,
Right.
we're still judged on that.
Girl.
It doesn't matter how, but and when I say apologize, I mean I'm not saying I'm sorry, but I know that's expected. People want to, because they give me the looks.
Right. But I'm gonna say what you said. You're in the position to hire. So I'm grateful that I'm in a position to hire. And
Yeah,
I choose to have people in my circle whom I trust and who
yeah,
love and trust Lori.
yeah.
And if that's not the case, then there are so many musicians out there. And I can love you from afar.
Amen. Oh, amen. Amen. And I have learned how to do that not only in the musical
And it's
level.
not cockiness. I think it's just like I said, I'm 50, 55. I'll be
Mhm.
56.
Yeah.
It's where we are.
It is, and I was that was part of the conversation this morning too, talking to my goddaughter, just saying, where I am in this life today, I no longer have the level of tolerance or patience to be going
But
through.
we arrive to that
Yeah, yes, it
right
was the process.
process. Yeah.
It was the process. Talk about process. You and I talked very briefly for a moment about the whole pandemic,
Mm.
right? And there are definitely things that I ask everybody this because for me, I felt this level of refreshment. I really hated the fact that we were in this, global warfare.
Mhm.
Um, but it gave me so much time to get so many different things together in self
Mhm.
and with family and the extensions of even in the career, how I was going to work better, and learn how to give myself rest. And there are things that I was doing pre-pandemic that I will never do again post.
Right,
What
right, right.
is something that you learned ever so greatly in that moment of hopefully respite that you had?
I got a tattoo recently and it says I am enough.
Ah, Okay, that hit me. Okay, sorry.
So I learned that during the pandemic. And it wasn't because I'm enough without God, because without God, we're nothing.
Yeah.
But I had to say for myself, I needed to believe more in myself and trust more in the process. I needed to be more transparent sometimes.
Mm.
Technology was a major faux pas of mine in the beginning. I learned to ask questions, um, and I learned to try new things. And I transitioned to a new position and a new location, and I reinvented a little bit of who I was during the pandemic. So um, it was a lot of learning for me, rediscovery, reinventing, and learning to love who I am through the whole thing. And just, you know,
Yeah.
it's my time.
Yeah, it's my you know what? I promise that as we all go and we listen and look at the video that whether female, male, that we will walk away with something very, very different from the lyrics of that, that it, yes, it is my time. I'm gonna reclaim it like what's sister out in California. Come on, who said, I'm reclaiming my time.
Yes. Okay. Hello.
You know who I'm talking about
Yeah.
because
Oh my God. Come on now. We know who
woman, Maxine Waters.
Maxine Waters. What?
Yes. I just couldn't get it together. But yeah,
Maxine? Auntie Maxine.
Auntie Maxine.
Yeah.
Reclaiming the time. You know, Lori, you've chosen this area of music that I just find that we just don't respect. We don't respect in America as much as out in Europe has this love for jazz.
Me too.
The community here of the African American community, a lot of it, I'm going to blame us as elders who refuse to pass on the tradition, the history, the knowledge of this music. And so, therefore, our kids are losing out on the value of it and why they should learn it. What are you doing as an artist to ensure, outside of PMPM, which is just dope, what else are you doing as an artist to ensure that the next generation, we have knowledge of this? And then you're a female jazz vocalist.
I'm so excited that you asked a question because when I taught for those 25 years, I made it my business. April is Jazz Appreciation Month, that we would study for the entire month of April anything about jazz. They had to learn jazz trumpeters, jazz saxophonists, jazz vocalists, and do history, from then to now, where they would compare. And I think that they could see, and then looking at my life too, I loved being that living example for them that was they could touch and feel. And when I would travel to different places like Ukraine, I was the very first introduction to some audiences to a Black jazz artist that they could see up close and personal. Some of them had never seen anybody who looked like me. And of course, I didn't feel offended when somebody wanted to touch or feel, and I would touch and feel right back because I wanted them to know, yeah,
what you feel like.
I'm like, because it's that response was such a weird kind of it was just a weird kind of action, but I wanted it to be where it was truthful and honest, that yes, we are both human, but yet something different comes from my culture that I want to share with you. So what is it that you can share with me?
Yeah.
With jazz, I'm grateful that my parents were from Louisiana, and I could also say, hey, my family's roots are from where jazz originated.
That's right.
And be able to share a little bit about scat, or and kids especially are more inquisitive than our adults because they are fearless when it comes to trying something new. So for now, when I'm out performing, I'm always looking in the audience for a younger face, because that way I can be able to do alphabet scat or something and bring them up. And that way it draws them in more, and talk a little bit, not too much about history of music, because people, I believe, when they come to these performances, and mainly when I'm in Europe, it's straight ahead jazz. They are escaping, I believe. Audiences come to our performances, yours and mine, to escape whatever those woes are during the day, and we become that relief. We become, oh my gosh, let me escape. We are like the Hallmark Channel or the Lifetime. become what they're able to see physically and in the visual, in the flesh of what they are escaping from the day, from the 9 to 5, from the bills, from whatever, and they need that relief. And I want to provide that. And I'm grateful for the Jazz Idiom that I'm able to do that. So, I'm still learning. I love it when we have artists like Jasmia or, Jasmia Horn or Robert Casper or even the neo soul or, my daughter, Lava Hive,
Yeah.
they're teaching us that it is not dead and it transcends and it changes, it molds, just like Miles changed and Herbie Hancock changed. It's not going to be a stagnant type of music. Jazz can be whatever you want it to be as long as it's real and authentic and the roots and the history behind it. So I try to put a little bit of that in when I'm performing, but not a lot, because I think that when you get into the historical background, it might turn people off.
Sure.
But when it's time to have the workshops, then we can do that all day long. And that's what I usually have workshops that are associated when I'm traveling overseas, and people sign up for it and just be able to work with them on how they can be a better jazz artist.
Who are the people you listen to that inspire you?
You saw her, one of the people you saw in the video. Of course, I love Diane Reeves.
Yes, me too.
With a passion, love her.
Me too.
I listen to Nancy Wilson. I listen to Sarah Vaughan. I listen to Bobby.
Nancy Wilson to me. I've always said that about you from day one, though. I used to tell Antonio,
yep,
Gloria Soldiers. It's just this Nancy Wilson
energy. I love that vibe, and I mean, I listen to Anita Baker, Whitney, the old Whitney Houston, So I mean, there are a lot of artists who I like. Basha. I mean, there are a lot of people who I listen to just because some Sade, just because I want to hear stylistically different approaches, and I try to incorporate that when I'm singing.
How about these, like the young ones who are coming up? They haven't really made it on the scene as yet, but the ones that you hear.
Samara Joy has made it on the scene. So that sister right there, good Muga.
She blesses me.
Okay. So Samara is an old soul, and so
you can hear it as soon as she opens her mouth. Like, what
where you been? What you been living?
Yeah, I believe that though. I believe that there are some people, the ancestors have just
poured, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I pray that she understands the depth of that.
Yeah, that's a gift. And it's just so rich, and she's just so sweet, bubbly,
Absolutely.
I got a chance to hear her when she came to Collinwall down in Atlanta. And after the show, just sat down, swinging her legs, just talking, I'm like, look at this little thing right here.
Little 20-something-year-old.
Humble, honest, and real and authentic. That authenticity is just real, and she surrounded herself with people who could support her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you, the first time I heard her there was the video somebody had sent me of her. I really did begin praying for her because I thought the awesomeness of what she has, there will be a lot of people who will want to come in and, we know how that is. They will try to break down, tear down, all for their benefit,
right,
and not understanding and seeing and really wanting to be a part of building this young lady's beautiful career that's ahead of her. So I was just like, Lord, give her all of the right people to be around.
I feel that same way when I hear Christy.
Yeah, most definitely.
And I mean, I've loved Christy since I got introduced to her when she was at Howard.
Yep.
Christy DeShield.
Beautiful voice, man. Yep.
I mean, that gift is unique. It's different. It reminds me of Layla Hathaway a lot of times when I hear some of the nuances she does with her voice.
Yeah.
But that entire DeShield family is just ridiculous.
Aren't they crazy ridiculous? Like, it reminds me of people in the Seventh-day Adventist church. I always say God done gave them an extra dose of the Holy Ghost.
Right. Right. So, I mean, there are a lot of artists and with Jasmia Horn, I remember when she first came on the scene because she did the competition and she won, and just sweet, and look at her now, just incredible, that gift, so it's great to see that. But I often wonder who was watching out for us, who was looking out for us. Was there someone who was really paying attention? And if somebody had paid attention as much as we are really so in tune because of technology, because of social media, what would have been different about our lives now? And I could say that for the Ellas and the Sarahs. And, you know, what would have been different if they had had social media back then?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't take advantage of social media like I probably should, and there's a plethora of reasons for that. But you know, each person's unique journey
Hmm.
was totally designed, tailor made for them, for the time. And you know, had it not been for the hardships and trials and the beauty of it, I almost think that this generation has certain things a whole lot easier. I wish that they understood the work ethic.
Yeah, the
that
struggle.
does yeah.
Struggles, yeah, for sure. You know?
You know what I mean? That's like, because it made us stronger
Yeah.
as people. I thought better about choices and decisions, and I sometimes I miss that in this generation. And
I wanted to speak to, because we were talking about the educational path for me. When I started teaching at Woodrow Wilson High School, I had 6 students in my choir. And I
wow,
got in there because the music teacher went AWOL. And so I got a call from the assistant principal and principal at the time, it was Dickerson and Terrison. We need you to come in. And can you? And sure, I can come in. And I'm going into this kind of blindly with kids who had no background, but
mhm,
they had a lot of passion. And that's where my heart was those 20 some years ago at Wilson, where my heart kind of went to the students from the community. I
mhm,
wanted to pour into them. And I think that all of that helped to birth and create positive music for positive minds, helped to make me a better teacher from each of those, because I was a younger person. So
mhm,
I was growing just like they were growing, you know, and seeing their life issues, you know, whether they didn't come to school with food, they hadn't been fed in the morning. So I
mhm.
would bring food, you know, and I became Mama Lori. And,
Yeah,
and to this day, some of the kids are like, they still call me mom. You know what I mean?
yeah, I do, I
You know
do.
that, you know, that connection. So it's important when we talk about like the path and the journey. And I've seen some incredible artists come across my classroom stage. And I don't know if they are going to pursue this for a career, but I think that music definitely helped them to make it through their high school experiences.
Yeah, yeah, and then who you are as a person too, you know, and knowing that they could come into your classroom and know that it was an environment that was welcoming, where you supported them finding their voice.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like the music is the relief, but knowing that they had this physical person that could understand, or at least if you didn't, you gave the ear to
Right.
it. Because so many of them were missing that.
You know, and perfection is something we all aspire to, but none of it, there's none perfect but God. You
Right?
know, but we all want to do our best. And I think that when we put that on and we pump them up and let them know how great they are, then that, and of course, when the sound is incredible, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
it's no better feeling than the reward of hearing that 4-part harmony and then the intricate, you know, stylistic nuances that we put in and them moving and then dressed up so well. The
Yeah.
pride that they have is it goes above and beyond.
Above and beyond. It really does. It
Mhm.
really does. Those all of those little pieces matter to the big piece.
Absolutely.
What are your plans in the next 5, 10 years? What are some of the big things that are coming up that you don't mind sharing, that you want people to support and get
Well, I'm,
out?
I'm prayerful that I'll, you know, do some more CDs. I'm working on music with people in Austria, and also working on something with an artist out of California, and I'm still working on CD number 7. So
Ah!
so we'll see how that works. And if I could see myself, uh, that's 60, that's 65. You know, when you think about 5 and 10 years,
Yep.
that's a different Lori altogether. I pray that my vision will be, like I say, my vision is clear. I want it to be even more crystal clear, so that I will not make the same mistakes that I made as a younger person.
Right.
I want to be able to still work with students, and I want to be able to teach them that they don't have to go through the same mishaps that I've made. I want to be able to, avoid that turn and see this and be able to value the music, value the input that they have to put into it to make sure that the music is good. They've got to do some shedding. They got to do some studying, learn the theory, learn the new, learn everything they can about it, learn so that they can be intelligent. I like an intelligent singer.
Yes.
And I want them to not be looked at in a negative light from instrumentalists, because I'm really critical about that, having been a vocalist who was kind of judged and I want them to be knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So if I can be able to do that, it would be awesome. I also have a big heart for women with domestic violence, and I've shared that. So I'm hoping that I can be able to take my organization or do something and be an advocate for women in that way.
Yeah.
And always want my music to touch and heal. Always.
That's it. That's it. It is touching and healing so many people. When I was looking at your video, and you just put it up a couple months ago, and there were thousands of viewers, and I thought, this is so dope.
That's amazing, right? I mean, that's nothing but God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I don't take any of that. Like, oh, Lori did no.
Yeah. No.
Shout out to Big Dog Chris Davis out of Connecticut for doing the music, and Elise Perry, who I went to Hampton with, but she's in the DC area, for directing it, and her team. And it was a good feeling. That's my very first video.
Really?
I have a lyrical video, but that's my very first video ever.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's stellar. Kudos to those who helped you in the process of getting this together. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Right.
And people who believe in the vision, who can come in and help you. I mean, really and truly, I don't ever take for granted those people who will come on my team and do all those things. So yeah, kudos. Lori, I love you, sis.
I love you too. I'm like, I've been running my mouth.
I'm so glad you have been, because this is the idea. We want to get to know you a little bit more so that people can go out and support you, and not just your music, but they're getting a feel, a flavor of who you really are, and you sharing some very intimate moments of yourself and your journey in this music field. How can people, they want to reach out, they want you to teach them lessons, they want to connect with you, invite you to a gig, come out to one of your events, how can they get in contact?
LoriJazz.com. Is it right this way?
That is, yes, right there, y'all. I don't know if y'all been missing it all night long, but it's right there.
LoriJazz.com, and they can find me there and get my music, my schedule, my bio, everything is right there. And like I said, I'm on all forms of social media. Find me. I don't do a lot of following back on Facebook, but I do a lot of following back on Instagram and Twitter. So come on and follow me.
Oh, okay. Well, because you know that the IG thing, that's the whole new thing. I'm trying to get my life together.
I love that.
It's coming slowly. Well, I thank you. I thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to when you are next into the DMV. And oh, by the way, on a side note, thank you for the musician that you sent for my goddaughter's wedding. Yes, I appreciate it. When I don't live in an area, you know someone else who lives there. That's how you do.
I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thank you so very much. To all of my Muses out there, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. Go on ahead and make sure that you share this with some other person, because they need to hear something that Lori shared tonight, even if it's just to take a look at the video. The video again, it's too late. What's in parentheses? Too late.
It's my time.
It's my time. Reclaim your time, sisters and brothers out there. And until next time, peace and blessings.